So I'm Nicolas Babin, as Barty said. We're going to introduce ourselves very shortly, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about the structure of our panel discussion. So first, after the introduction, we'll start talking about the customer experience journey and what is a customer today, because obviously we're starting from ground zero. So that means that there is a journey. The second point will be customized campaigns or more personalized campaigns, what we see in terms of technology and in terms also of experience. The third point will be about compliances and risks around customer experience. And the fourth point will be the conclusion and the trends that we see in customer experience. We want to be very pragmatic. We want this panel discussion to benefit you from ideas that you could implement in your companies or in your business. So, Mohit, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Babin. So my name is Mohit. I'm a director with Americana Foods. It's a leading F&B player in the Middle East region. I look after financial controls and customer experience. I was instrumental in implementing Voice of the Customer program. Before Americana, I worked with a private equity fund, and I worked with the Boston Consulting Group. And with BCG, I worked across customer experience journey, across sectors, financial services, industrial goods, and even in B2B. So what stands out is that the customer experience matters a lot, irrespective of what kind of businesses you are in. So that has been the key takeaway. What I've learned so far. That's briefly about my journey. I'm looking forward to this interaction with Sai and Nicolas.
Great. Thank you very much. Sai, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, Babin. Hello, everyone. I'm Saiprasad Raut, also known as Sai. I'm into the IT industry from last 21 plus years of experience and been into the payment space from 15 years. And I'm currently working with WorldPay from FIS as Chief Technology Advisor and also a co-chair with Hedera Hashgraph Technical Steering and the Product Committee.
Great. Thank you very much. And finally, so I'm Nicolas Babin, and I've had over 35 years of experience in marketing, innovation, and new technology, mostly working for Sony for 15 years, and the last job head of communications and marketing, product marketing for Sony Europe. I'm also working with the World Economic Forum as a top link expert, especially around AI and robotics and digital transformation. And I'm also a board member of the World Business Angel Forum for smart cities. So we hope that between the three of us now we can start and explain to you what the customer experience we see and what maybe you will appreciate for your own customers. So why don't we start, Mohit, if you don't mind, talking about what for you is a customer today? Has it changed? Do you see any differences from the past?
It has. So if you consider the era of 70s and 80s, and if you consider their experience versus ours, right? So most of the customers at that point of time, the first touch point with the brand would be, basically an ad, maybe in the radio or the television or a physical store, which they see, right? That's the first impression that they get of the brand. And then they physically touch the product. There's a person who will explain the features of the product, and that's how the customer experience journey begins, right? In the 70s and 80s. Now it has changed completely, right? So if you look at the customer experience, right? Customer experience basically the touch point a customer has with the company. It could be pre-sales, it could be during the sales, the sales channel, it could be sales process, post-sales, and then the repeat sale leg, right? Each and every touch point has transformed completely, and there are various combinations in the customer experience journey right now. So I think if you consider the customer of 70s or 80s and you tell them that this is how you're going to interact with the brands and this is how you're going to purchase product in the future, they would be laughing all the way out. And now when we talk about how the customer experience will change in the future, consumer in today's generation may believe what will happen in the future. So in my view, customer experience has changed drastically. For example, pre-sales has moved from radio or maybe, an advertisement on the television or a hoarding to a completely digital platform. Even sales channel has transformed completely with majority of the share coming from digital. The sales process which we're talking about, every touch point, where the consumer it transacts, it has become much more convenient for the customer from, physical world to digital world, if I were to say. And post sales and repeat sales, it is completely data driven right now. So I think, it has transformed completely from the previous era to the current generation where we are in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think can all concur. We've seen a lot of changes from the 70s and 80s to now, obviously, and it has been going gradually. That's what's very interesting, is that you see that technology has evolved, the world has evolved, obviously, with the pandemic today, and now we see different type of customers. What about Sai? What do you think?
So I will cover most of this customer experience from the payments domain background where I come from, because if you see, we are all a consumer ourselves, right? Starting from we wake up in the morning till we go to bed, everywhere now we are kind of experience a different aspects of a consumer behavior. When you wake up, you actually starting with your setting up an alarm to go to the market for your shopping, and in the evening you have your your children's, you go and get them from the school, so you use your vehicle. And for every of these particular experiences that you are experiencing, that where you are interacting with that product and that technology, you have to make a payment. And if we have to take you back, let's say 10 or 15 years or 20 years back, how we used to interact for the payments, we used to interact with the cash. And that has evolved to the manual imprinters, when you used to have that manual imprinter that used to print your cards. And that has evolved to the credit card industry, the rise of the credit cards. And then the digital era came with the digital wallets, which Apple Pay and Google Pay and Samsung Pay, which has also given a birth for the biometrics and the NFC interactions, right? Where customers can go and just use their smartphone to touch with the terminals and use the NFC for making a payment. And now we are also seeing a digital economy with the parallel shift, wherein the APMs, like alternate payment methods of the digital payments, has evolved. Like if you go to China, there is Alipay. If you go to Vietnam, there is EGHL. In the North America, you have PayPal and so many other alternative payment methods that has evolved. And now we are also seeing that along with this payment channels, we are also saying that you can also make a payment with the digital payments, with the cryptos. So now if you look at the overall spectrum of the payments industry itself, how it has evolved, and the consumer itself has so many different options to make a payments. And now customers are also kind of adapting to these different trends, and everybody is kind of adapting those paying by smartphones, paying by chip cards, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with what you just said is that we really realize that payment is one of the common denominator for customer experience, because we all have to use payment in order to have a sale or to go through the journey. And so payment is a very important point of customer experience, because if the website is perfect, if the experience is perfect, buying up until payment, and then payment is really hard because onboarding is hard, because the experience behind it, it takes a long time to get approved or anything, then actually it will spoil the whole experience. So exactly. I think while we were preparing this panel, it was really interesting to me, because I've been in customer experience for a long time, and I had never thought, because basically you take it for granted pretty much, payment. But actually there's a lot of work that's involved, and that needs to be optimized for the customer experience. And just to conclude on this point, I would just say that what I've seen, is that again, things have changed tremendously. Now you need to know who your customers are, and this is what we're doing today. We're planting the seed, because that's the basis of everything. But the second point is really important to me is like, what channels are we using and are they using? And we need to be available, if I could say, or at least our products and our services need to be available on absolutely every channel, because today, you have some people, for example, if you take social media, they're going to be more on Instagram or more on Twitter or more on LinkedIn. Well, if you're only available on LinkedIn, then you're missing other channels and you're missing customers. So it's really important to see that the basis of all this is about engagement and making sure that at least during your customer experience journey, you have a lot of engagement, and you can use a lot of mechanics like gamification, for example, to engage more people. So at least they also have fun. But we have to remember that why I'm talking about gamification is because today you have a lot of millennials coming into the economy, if I could say. They start working, and these people have had the experience of everything they do online. It's with fun. It's some of them, they have started to read using games online, like PlayStation or Microsoft Xbox, and these people, they have the habit of all experience online being fun, being engaging. And so brands have to think about ways to talk to these people and ensure also that other people who have probably more means and more money to spend are also touched, if I could say, by the experience. So it's really interesting to really, with the evolution, to see that, at the beginning, what we used to call, when I first started in marketing, we used to say we spray and pray. So you spray the message and you pray that one person will get it, right? Whereas today you have to really go into personalized and customized campaigns. And this is really our second point, and that's why I wanted to make that point. So maybe we start with Sai on this one. What do you see in terms of customized payment solutions are basically being used, and how do you customize a payment experience?
Yeah, so when we are talking about the customized payment, let's talk about the credit card industry. Now, there was a time when we used to just have the credit cards to make a payments, and now if we see that inside the credit card industry itself, you will have like different kind of credit cards that's been offered by the issuer banks. Like you have the frequent flyers or the travel miles specific credit cards, or you have fuel or the entertainment type credit cards, which will accumulate those points on your credit card that you can use as a reward points. And also, if you think of the loyalty cards, there are few credit cards that's been kind of associated with the different merchants. Like you have a Shopper Stop, you have Target and Walmart. They have their association with the different issuing bank, and that you can accumulate those loyalty points that can be used for the shopping for specific brand and specific merchandise. Think of the other way, like Amazon Pay or the Airtel Pay and PayPal and Paytms. These are the different merchants. They are offering you a services by which you can accumulate your points, and then you can pay with their specific balance from Amazon Pay or the Airtel Pay. And if you take this forward to the next level in the Amazon now, they are also offering you the BNPL, like buy now, pay later. So you have an option to go and buy or purchase anything now. And Amazon itself is giving you an option that, hey, you can have your purchase now and do your payments in 3 or 4 or even 10 different installments in the future without even going through the credit card if you don't have a credit card. On the telecom side, if you think that now previously used to have like let's say in my case, my family, I used to have 4 different connections for my wife, my parents, my sister, my children, right? And now even the telecoms, they are now coming up with the family pack that you have one single pack and you can make a payment for one single pack for entire family. So now the customer experience has also been customized per se for the customer itself. And from the payment perspective, I have also how the technological involvement inside the payment industry has also enabled the way that people are experience the payment experience, that you have a smartwatch, and with the smartwatch you go to the, especially in the North America, if you hold the Apple Pay or iWatch with you, you can just simply tap your iWatch and complete the payment at the terminal itself. So that has also evolved how the customized payment experience from the specific consumer perspective has evolved. And I also want to add one point, that when we have these payments that's been made, that is also accumulating to my credit score, right? And based on my credit score and the behavioral analysis, how this has also impacting my further payment experience. For example, if I want to go for the mortgage or for the insurance, that is also kind of connected with my consumer behavior and my purchasing pattern and my credit score. That will also reap me benefits if I'm having the good customer and the credit score that will give me those specific benefits.
Yes.
I will also want to touch base on how the cross-border settlements has been evolved. In the past, we used to have the Swift MT103 payment experience for the cross-border settlements that used to have like 2 or 3 days of settlement time. And with the latest involvement of the DLT and, for example, Ripple is one of the DLT technology that is also giving you the cross-border settlement in the instant real time. And
Perfect.
this kind of enhancements into the customized payment will obviously enhance the customer experience in the future. Time.
Totally agree with you. Mohit, in terms of technology, what would you say? What do you see in terms of customized campaigns, as we say, in customized experience?
Sure. So I completely agree with how the customer experience and analytics has involved with Sai. But the organization will also have to adapt themselves internally. When I say internally, it talks about the tech part, it talks about the org structure, which is why the CTO is now being called CIO, right? Because they are the Chief Information Officer, no longer Chief Technology Officer. So if you look at the tech part, right, there are basically 3 things which we need to do in big data analytics. One is customer segmentation. Second is you have to come up with an algorithm to arrive at a product which that customer segment is most likely to consume. And third, you have to find a channel on which you can communicate that campaign or offer it to the customer where it's most likely to purchase the product, right? Or maybe convert into sales. So in all these 3 aspects, tech has evolved a lot. So, if I talk about AI and if we talk about automation, all these analytics have completely been automated now. So if you talk about banking, you talk about even food and beverage industry. Now data is the next oil, as people say, right? So what do you do with the data? With tons and tons of data, it is not possible for with only human intervention you are able to drive insights. So technologically, internally, you have to have AI bots. You have to have multiple bots in order to analyze those customer segmentation, arrive at an insight, and provide that customized offering to the customer. And that is something which each and every organization is trying to implement. And most of the companies have already been successful. For example, if you look at Starbucks, right, they have a big data engine. If you look at Amazon, if you look at Google, they all on this big data engine, and they will provide customized offering to all the customers. Even if I take an example of FMB, what we are doing right now, we are collecting customer data. We are segmenting the customer, offering them what they like. So, for example, if someone likes chicken burger with certain specification, so that is a preempt option to them, right? They don't need to specify to us that what specification they need in the chicken, and that is what we are providing to them. And this data, it's not only about providing personalized campaign to the customer, it's also about new product development. So, with this big data, you can do multiple things, improve customer satisfaction, improve your product development engine, improve your revenue, right? And, tech is at the center of it. Without tech, it's not possible. And people have to think about the entire IT architecture in order to evolve the organization to cater to this big data.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I see more and more today because I'm very involved with digital transformation projects. And companies, actually, digital transformation is not about digital, it's about customer experience. It's companies that need to ensure that at least they are available when where they should be available, as I mentioned in my first point. But also it's about change management, because as I said today, when you want to buy a product, you want this to be personalized to yourself. So what do companies need to do? They need to have historical data from the customer habits, basically. And so looking at, and you mentioned AI, which we can talk about machine learning as well, which is a subpart of AI, but all this automation will be based on historical data. So as soon as you start having 3-6 months of data, you start seeing a pattern, and you can make models of your customers. So you have personas of your customers that you understand who your customers are, and based on the personas, you have models that AI algorithms can work on. So for example, Nicolas Babin, he's married in May. Probably in May he's going to buy something for his wife, or his birthday is in February. In February, that somebody from his family is going to buy something. So when you approach your customer, you ensure that at least it's so personalized that you really talk his own language. And that's what's so important, because you're going to be more impactful when and more engaging when you really approach the person at the right time, on the right platform, with the right tool. And that's really what we see more and more, at least what I see with digital transformation. And I think this is exactly what you just said, the two of you, Sai and Mohit. So thank you.
And I think I would like to add one more point there, that when you're talking about this patterns, right, and what liking that you have, I think the one thing that we all must have experienced is when we are experiencing the Facebook or the Meta, anything that you search on the Google, immediately next thing that start showing up those ads on the Facebook, that this is what you are interested in. And it tries to personalize your web experience the way that you are seeking for something.
That's exactly it. And that was part of my point, really talking about, how you can reach the person for the right subject at the right time and the right tool. So when we talk about data and we talk about historical data and everything, we need to be extremely careful, because now we have what we call the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. And if you don't, of course, Europe is very big on this, but US as well. I mean, the California Act is actually a little bit even tougher than I find than the GDPR. So Mohit, what could you say about GDPR, and how could we go around this to ensure at least we don't get caught in legal problems?
I think organizations around the world, they're still warming up to the idea of GDPR, especially if you look at the Asian markets and the Middle East market. With the GDPR regulation, it becomes very difficult. There are a lot of restrictions on how you can use the customer data, and you have to respect the privacy. But I think over a period of time, all the three stakeholders, be it customer or the government or the organization who are providing services and goods, right, they will all evolve. And I think an ecosystem will be developed where we use the data, but we do not violate the privacy. So I think it's still in the emerging phase, and it will emerge in a better shape and format in the future. But every organization will have to respect GDPR. It's not about just going around the regulations. It's about respecting the privacy of the customer as well. But at the same time, you have to ensure that you provide the customer satisfaction, that it has to be at the maximum level to the customers. Otherwise, you will keep losing them. So I think it will evolve in the future. As of now, there are a lot of gray areas in the GDPR regulations. There are a lot of gray areas in how companies are approaching it. Even internally, we are just warming up to the idea of GDPR. Middle East has, drafted a GDPR equivalent regulation, and most of the organizations are not even ready internally to comply. So I think it will evolve in the future.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess Sai will have probably a lot to say as well, because in terms of compliance and risk, when you talk about payment, you're in the middle of it. So Sai, what can you tell us about these compliance and risks in terms of payment?
Right. So I will kind of look at this more from the the challenge perspective, because now we are seeing and witnessing this new era of the digitalization and how the things are moving in the Web 2 and Web 3 world, and what are the challenges that we are facing from the different perspectives. So I would look at, the PCI DSS was already been there, which is kind of making sure that your credit card industry is following all the standards for the data and data storage. I think recently we must have heard this news about the MasterCard from Indian government. They have asked them to issue any new cards in the Indian continent because they were storing the data outside the Indian continent, and they were, the security concern that were raised from the Indian government. So similarly, you see those compliance and the regulations from US, like FATF, which is Financial Actions Task Force, and then there is SEC, which is Securities and Exchange Commission from the US. All these different compliance bodies are making sure that customer data has been protected and the data has not been compromised in any way. That's where we are saying that data in transit and data at rest also is been protected in the right way. That's why when we are kind of from the technological perspective, we are making sure data has been masked, it has been stored in a secured way. And rise of the cloud computing also, we are seeing that companies who has the in-prem versus on-cloud solutions, and if they have hybrid solutions, how they are making sure the data has been transferred from in-prem to on-cloud. And that has also, given the scope for how you are encrypting your data, how you are tokenizing your data, right? And now from the encryption perspective also, we are seeing the new technological growth from the quantum computing. And there is also the new debate that has been started that quantum computing may also impact the way the current encryption algorithms like AES and the other ones, SHA-256, will get compromised. So that's where those are the challenges that are lying, that how the existing infrastructure and the existing security solutions that we have, how the next era of the technological advancements are going to impact the way that we are witnessing this. One more thing that I want to touch upon is the identity. Now, see, we are all experiencing that when we, let's say, log into the bank's app. On the other hand, we are logging to the Amazon and any other shopping site, right? Everywhere we have to kind of face a situation where we have multiple passwords, multiple logins, right? And that is also having the challenge that how we can store all these different identities. And in the future, probably we will see that these identities and the digital identities are also a major challenge, that how one person can maintain all these different identities at a different applications. And last one, but not the least, is in the crypto industry, we are also seeing the volatility and the rug pulls that are happening. And customers are also facing that because of this technological advancement, people want to invest in the crypto, want to enter into the crypto markets, but looking at the volatility and different rug pulls, those are the challenges that we see, that data protection and the data privacy has been always on top of it.
Yeah. And one thing that we're going to see more and more is obviously, as you mentioned, metaverse coming up. And metaverse is also about this economy. So it's not only about the experience and the different experience in different universes, but it's also the economy, the fact that we can buy things. I was very involved with Sony in Second Life, but in Second Life, we didn't have anything to buy or anything. Whereas now, with NFTs and with blockchain technology around, this is going to be a big challenge. But what I hear is that you have challenge, but you have huge opportunities. So that's what I like about what the two of you have said. We have less than 7 minutes to go, so I'd like to go to the last point, which is about the future of customer experience and what trends you see. So Mohit, do you mind starting with this? But again,
Sure.
we really have 7 minutes and would like to keep some questions as well. So
Sure.
I think it's important that we go fast on this one.
I think the way I've observed the market, there are 4 key trends which are emerging from customer experience perspective. One is that being large player is no added advantage. So there is no entry barrier in a new business. So if you're someone who can provide differentiated product to the customer, and you can reach out to the customer through new channels, which could be digital, I think you can compete with the likes of big players, be it HUL or Nestle, whosoever big players are. So one is there is no entry barrier, and there are multiple examples where small businesses have given tough competition to the existing large players. Second key trend is hyper personalization. I think it will become big time. Every individual is different, and companies will adapt themselves internally through the usage of technology to provide hyper personalizations products and services to the customers. So that is happening, and that will continue to emerge in the future. Third, I think, is immersive experience, which the customer is getting through digital channel. So when I say immersive, where customer is able to feel the product, they know exactly how the product looks like and what is expected out of it. Now, earlier, or maybe in some part of the world today, if I were to experience it, I have to go to a physical store to experience the product. But I think in the future now it will completely be digital, where I can just from my bedroom, experience the product literally, and I know how it will look and feel if I order the product. And the fourth part, I think, which is emerging very fast, is community building, and community will become the center of loyalty. So for each and every type of customer segment which you're catering to, there'll be community around it, and that community will be very strong. If that community favors a product, that product will be apple of their eyes, and if that community do not favor the product for any reason, no one is going to use that product. So I think these are the four key trends which I think will emerge strongly in the future.
Thank you very much. Sai?
I completely resonate with Mohit's thoughts on this. I think from the future perspective, with the rise of Web3, I see the use cases like micropayments and self-solvent identities and NFTs as a collateral, wherein you can make it NFT as a collateral and get your DeFi and other use cases in place. And like you were mentioning about the metaverse, we will see in the future many such metaverses are kind of having the interoperability between two, and customer are experiencing those different trends from the payment, from different use cases inside the digital economy in more user-friendly way, and that will have less intermediary, and they will have peer-to-peer transactions in the future.
Yeah. Thank you. As for me, one point, I totally agree with the two of you, obviously. But one point that I see more and more is transparency. Customers want more transparency, especially around subjects like climate change, like green credentials. It's becoming important for everyone to understand that business practice really do matter to people, and the more transparent you are, the better the customer experience. I see that a lot, and obviously the second point, besides everything you've just said, is the fact that customer wants to be seen more as individuals. So we talked a lot about personalized and customized campaigns, but this is really becoming even more. I think in 2022 we're going to see that even more. So I want to thank you very much. We have 3 minutes left for questions. As I see some in the Q&A up. In the case of new digital age with the presence of digital assets, how is it important to synchronize business modules to effectively ensure profitability at the end of the day? Anybody wants to take that one? So, can you see it on your screen?
I just clicked on. I'm just reading the question.
Okay. In the case of new digital age, with the presence of digital assets, so we talk about NFTs. I think that's what they refer to. How is it important to synchronize business modules to effectively ensure profitability by the end of the day? Well, I mean, to me, it's essential. But maybe Sai, do you want to take that one?
So digital assets has become a new trend to kind of monetize your company assets, and we are seeing that very different use cases. Like you can convert the IPs. We are seeing in the form of the NFTs, how the collectibles, how the art, and this has been very successful as an NFT market has been evolved. Now, if we see the digital assets are also being used as the use case for the companies to take forward for their overall digital economy, we will see such use cases in the future that real estates and any fintech organizations are exploring such kind of use cases to have the digital assets converted. For example, your loans for your collaterals. These can be converted to the digital assets in the form of the NFTs or any such digital assets platform. And that can be either traded, that can be exchanged in the blockchain or any other platform in the future.
And we have a last question. Thank you very much, Sai. Last question, because we have a minute left. Do you think the customers as a whole have evolved in terms of psyche and knowledge with technology at their fingertips? I thought we covered that a lot during that time, but to me, definitely the customers have changed a lot. We live differently with COVID. We buy differently. We behave differently, and so we had our back to the wall basically because COVID came. And so we all evolved. Do you want to add really like few seconds on this one? Because we need to give.
Yeah, so I agree with you. COVID has actually accelerated the future, right? So whatever we would have done, let's say 5 years down the line, we are already doing right now. And I think the change will happen at a much faster pace. Now, the tech and the customer psyche have evolved completely, and it has transcended beyond age, right? So if you will see that people with 60 or 70 years of age earlier where they were used to feel that they're tech handicap, now they are at least using the tech to fulfill their needs. So I think it has completely transformed, and maybe 5 years down the line we will see that everyone is comfortable with that tech, and the knowledge about them, about the market, will be far more significant than currently they have. So yeah, it will change drastically in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I think we're done because it was 9:20 when it's 9:21, or at least in Europe. Sorry, so I don't know what time it is. I think in Dubai it's 12:21. Thank you very much all for attending. I hope you found this discussion, the panel discussion, interesting. If you want to take any questions outside of this, we'll be happy with the organizer to take your questions with BizzTalk. I think at this stage, I'll give back to BizzTalk. I don't know if they are on. Here they are. Bharti, perfect.
Yeah, Bharti is here.
Thank you so much for an amazing session.